allegations that when Hoover ran the FBI, he had lots in common with the crooks he was out to catch.
Today we find ourselves confronted with the worst era of lawlessness in our nation's history.
J. Edgar Hoover, head of the FBI for 48 years, was honored as the nation's #1 lawman and considered incorruptible. But the book Double Cross claims that the top cop of the U.S. was dirty. Hoover ignored organized crime for many years until spurred into action by the Kennedys. The reason for his inaction is that he was on the take from the New York mob and its boss, Frank Costello, according to the nephew of Chicago gangster Sam Mooney Giancana.
J. Edgar Hoover found it necessary, rather than taking money directly from organized crime, that since he loved horses so much and liked to bet on horses, that the mob found it easier to provide him with fixed races, winners, so to speak, that he could bet on, get a certain amount of money back, and feel confident that he wasn't on the take, so-called, from the mob. That relationship went through Frank Costello, and the information was later given to J. Edgar Hoover through Walter Winchell, the columnist and radio personality.
The Untouchables, led by their chief Elliot Ness, celebrated the beginning of the end of Prohibition.
Ironically, Walter Winchell is best known as the narrator of the Untouchables TV show. He and Hoover were old friends, as shown here as Hoover pretends to jokingly fingerprint Winchell. In fact, Hoover wrote over 600 letters to the columnist thanking him for tips on subversives. Former FBI agent Bill Romer, who has written books on the mob, admits the friendship between Hoover and Winchell, but doesn't buy that his boss was bad.
Walter Winchell may very well have passed on. They were very close friends, but I don't think if he did, I don't think Hoover was aware that they were coming from people like Frank Costello, the boss of one of the mobs in New York, or anybody else, and certainly was not corrupted in that regard.
But the book quotes Chicago mobster Sam Mooney Giancana saying to his brother Chuck, quote, Hoover would place a $2 bet at the window while one of his flunkies put the real money at the $100 window. Hoover won every time. Nice and neat, for sure. And you can call it anything you want, but a payoff is a payoff, end quote. Kurt Gentry, who spent 15 years writing a book on Hoover, says it's always been a mystery as to why Hoover neglected the mob.
For over 30 years, he ignored the existence of organized crime. And there are various theories about that. One, that he was on the take.
Gentry says he never came across the racetrack payoff theory in his research, but says there are plenty of other theories as to why Hoover let the mob alone.
There's a very persistent rumor that Meyer Lansky, the organized crime boss, obtained incriminating photographs of Hoover and his longtime companion, Clyde Tolson, and that this is why Hoover stayed so far away from organized crime.
For years, rumors circulated that Hoover and his companion, Clyde Tolson, were gay, so the mob could have used that information against the FBI chief. In any case, Hoover did turn his attention to the mob in 1957, and the FBI conducted a vendetta against organized crime, even helping to bring down Sam Mooney Giancana himself. Double Cross, which also alleges Sam Giancana played a role in the deaths of Marilyn Monroe and President John Kennedy.